Okay, it's 5:03. It's Tuesday, September the 6th, and we'll call this city council meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting. If everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Deb.
Harley.
Here.
Brad.
Here.
Rodney.
Here.
Tyler.
Here.
Don.
Here.
Jody. Here.
Agenda item number 4, I entertain a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Across the mayor's desk, I just want to thank our videographer, Riker Brindley, tonight for helping us out there. And just hope that everyone was able to enjoy the long Labor Day weekend before the fall schedules certainly begin. I know school will be busy, activities, and we've got a few things planned here at City Hall as well. So it'll be a busy fall. So the council have anything they would like to share? Okay, hearing none, we'll move to an update from the city administrator.
Just one announcement to share. The Wednesday night, September 7th, so tomorrow from 3 to 6 at the Carnegie Lawn, we'll be having our community visioning board design reveal. We have about 15 different boards that show some of the concepts in terms of park improvement, trail, transportation enhancements, aesthetics. And so we're really excited to see those. It'll be we've seen some drafts, but even as the committee, it'll be our first time seeing the final recommendations. And encourage folks to come out. They also eventually will be posted on our website as digital copies. But there's some really neat ideas on how we can improve outgoing. And then once we kind of get this set of ideas, we certainly aren't going to be able to do them all. It'll be what really strikes us, and where kind of the top projects or priorities we want to pursue. So it's been a real fun, interesting process. So I encourage people to come out. One of the things that will be kind of neat is we're going to have that one block in McGregor marked off with tape on how the hypothetical bike lane could look like on there, just as kind of a demonstration. That is one option, so folks can see that as well.
Very good, thank you. Agenda item number 7, this is the citizens' opportunity to address the council with any item that's not on the agenda. Is there anyone would you like to come up and identify yourself again, please? And there you go.
Okay, my name is Daniel Contreras, and I'm coming to inform you the food trailer that we have. It passed the inspection, plus my wife got a certification of completion of state food safety.
Okay.
So we passed the inspection, so now the only thing we're waiting, we got a place to park, and we have to pay rent. Every month we have to pay rent, plus I believe we have to put like a mirror for the electricity, and that's going to cost us more money too. And we want to know if it's possible to get the year, the permit for the whole year. We're planning to start on between the 5th and the 10th of October. So I'm just coming to see if this is possible. If it's not possible right now, I can pay, the first month, maybe in the future, If you get a year deal, we can get it.
Is this something they come to the city and apply for a permit
Yeah.
for?
So,
Okay.
Deb, can you just provide kind of a quick overview on transient
We,
permits?
the transient permit right now is $20 a day or $200 a month is how it's in our code.
Okay. Okay, and that's for, what do we charge for a food truck to be at the parks? when they come?
$20 a day.
$20 a day for that right now, okay.
So what we had discussed was just with the popularity of food trucks is over kind of the winter out of season, drafting just a food truck specific ordinance and just dealing with it that way, because a transient permit, it works, but we're just, it doesn't fit for all the things that we're getting questions on. You know, so I guess my plan would be, you know, at that time, look at if we want the rate structure and how we want to have that, you know, what options. You know, if council would like us to, you know, move forward on that quicker than later, we you know, certainly can. It's just with everything we have going on right now, kind of lower on the priority with wrapping up construction season. The intent would be to have something in place by next spring. You know, some of the considerations we're going to have to make is, yeah, maybe we do a month, 6 month, you know, annual permit. What's that fair amount? You know, researching other communities. What's that fair in terms of, you know, brick and mortar, you know, places of business that pay property taxes versus, you know, food trucks or, you know, similar. They don't. You know, the customers are using the streets to get there, but you know, they're not paying property tax for those streets. And just, you know, generally how we set that up. So that would be our plan, to figure that out, you know, over the winter and come with an ordinance to go into effect here this spring. Like I said, the council would like us to address any issues with the transient permit or move that food truck ordinance up sooner than later. And I appreciate any direction.
I think this gentleman was here the last time. I did get on ClerkNet, which is the city clerk's email, and the line for city administrators. And what we're charging for a transient permit is pretty much average of all communities. They're all $20 a day, $200 a month, type of thing. But a lot of communities are looking at a specific food truck ordinance. But right now, we're right in line with the fitness.
Okay. Okay, so we want to leave things as it is for now for another month or two and then revise things? Is this what you're maybe, I mean, for a short time, or what's thoughts there?
Well, I think we want to continue to look at it, like they said. I
Yeah.
think we need to, that maybe doesn't fit all situations, but I don't know how much quicker with things going on they can get to it.
Yeah.
It sounds like a reasonable timeline. I do think it needs to be, you know, continue forward and try to make sure we meet that timeline you're thinking.
Yeah, you know, yeah, just kind of from a workload management standpoint, probably looking at something that, you know, before the first of the year, just to try to get it in ahead of budget season, but you know, might, you know, lapse into that a little bit. But you know, get something in place that once it warms up, it's, you know, we have a much simpler way to receive permits, issue permits, and then whatever fees, you know, council determines is appropriate. So I would say, to make sure that we have enough time balancing everything we have going on, and we can hopefully, you know, write the new ordinance and write it once. You know, if we could kind of look at it late this fall, I think that would, you know, be reasonable, or would be my suggestion.
So
Do
maybe.
you plan on being open all winter?
Yes.
You're going to be open through the winter,
Yes.
okay.
And plus, I pay like taxes on my house, actually 2 houses, and we go to pay taxes, you know, because every like $10 is already 70 cents from each $10. So we go to be paying taxes, plus we go to pay the rent and the electricity. So all that, you know, is good for the city, you know. Plus good tacos with good salsa, you know. So just, if you put it on mine, you guys can, I'm sorry, you cannot do nothing, I can pay the $200 for a month, but I think it's a little too much because we go to pay like $300 off rent just to be parked on the property,
Yeah.
plus the electricity, so.
Yeah, it sounds like the $200 though is kind of an average of other cities around us from the research that they've done. But is it fair maybe to give us a couple of months to sort of look through things and,
Yeah, because one more thing, because like, they say this like $200 a month. If you give me a part to put it over there, $200 a month is nice, you know? It's nice. But if I have to pay rent, plus the $200, plus the taxes, but the $10 of the $10 supposedly is going to be like $5 for me, plus the food and all the investment I have to pay. It's got to, you know,
yeah,
just to put it on mind, please.
yeah.
No, point taken, and we certainly want to work with, you know, food trucks and encourage them, because they are really popular. You know, like what we've done with, you know, parks and the Lime and Domes, them there this last year, that was, we set it up, you know, organized it with the food truck, and it was only there when we were hosting city events, and it's because we don't have concessions. And so we found this as a reasonable alternative to, we can't provide this amenity, so we're gonna basically allow a private vendor to come in. Kind of to induce demand, we just charged them what it would be for the permit. We didn't have any sort of, you know, fee to have access to the parks. And that, I think, is something on how we handle public property is what we'll need to address in that ordinance. Because, you know, then it's the kind of principle of setting up, again, you know, it's basically taking public property and using it exclusively for one, you know, private purpose. And just how, you know, how we make a consideration for that, you know, in these types of circumstances, you know, maybe on a Friday nights, it's worth having a couple parking spots with food trucks, you know, or something like that. But those are the type of things on how we handle public space that will need to be addressed as well.
So just some more research that we need to do and some understanding so we're fair to everyone, and so, yeah,
Well, I just want to say thank you for hearing me and have a nice day.
you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for your business and look forward to tasting it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, anyone else like to address the council on anything? Okay, we'll move then to agenda item number 8, which is the consent agenda, and that includes approving the minutes from our August 15th work session and regular city council meeting, approving a Class C native wine permit for the Trainwreck Winery, approving a Class E liquor license for Hy-Vee Wine and Spirits, and a Class E liquor license for One Stop Shop number 3, approving the bills that are to be paid this cycle, and to approve Jacob's administrator's report.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Harley, second from Jody. Any discussion? Vote please, Deb.
Harley?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Riley?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item number 9 is a public hearing. It's 5:17, and we'll open that public hearing. It's pertaining to a budget amendment.
This is the proposed budget amendment number 1 to the FY 2022-2023 city budget. Proposed amendment increased expenses by $153,490. This represents $128,409 in public safety, which is for the law enforcement community liaison position. The city received a grant in that same amount to cover those expenses in the previous fiscal year. And then $25,000 under community economic development. And that would be for what would be later this year in the spring of '23, as we begin either removals of treatment of hazardous or vulnerable ash trees as part of our Emerald Ash Borer mitigation plan. We have not received any public comments regarding this.
Okay. It's 5:18 then, and we will close this public hearing. And we'll move into agenda item number 10 under new business, and this is the first reading of an ordinance pertaining to our sanitary sewer charges.
So as discussed in the work session, and over the last couple council meeting work sessions, the city's looking at a significant wastewater facility upgrade here in the coming years. We're looking at a construction start date in '25, in '24, with completion in '25. The primary reason for the necessity of the upgrade is for the city to meet our current NPDES permit requirements. That's what regulates the effluent outflow from the sanitary sewer facility. Primarily, it's to add treatment processes to address total nitrogen and total phosphorus coming out of the plant. We completed a nutrient reduction strategy identifying options for how we might achieve that back in 2019. That identified the technology we're proposing to use, which would be an oxidation ditch system. And then since then, the city's sewer engineer, WHKS, has been working on preliminary design for that project. And that report should be done here later this month. Based off that that 2019 reduction strategy report, and as we progress through preliminary design, the big thing we've been looking at is what our estimated costs to meet these new requirements are, and then looking at our today's revenues and what that difference is in order to be able to adequately fund the construction and not be in violation of our permit. Unfortunately, our current plant does not have the systems in place to treat phosphorus or to treat total nitrogen. And our plant also has a number of different aspects of it which we've deferred maintenance on or deferred replacement, knowing this project is coming to do one large project and making sure whatever we do fits in with the ultimate new technology. But we're more or less going to have to build a new sewer plant next to our current sewer plant while maintaining operation of our current plant to switch over by October 2025 is when we need to be switched over. To get to that, the cost is going to be significant. The 2019 report originally identified an estimated cost of $13 to $15 million, and that was in 2019 dollars. Since then, we've obviously seen significant inflation. This is also the type of work that requires very particular skilled labor, as well as has a lot of parts and pieces that are very particular, and items that can have several month lead time and aren't something you just get off the shelf. They're very custom. So those things certainly are contributing to our benefit either. We've put together some scenarios on what we're looking at for that project cost, which now we're probably looking at construction costs of $15 million north. And we'll have some increased operating costs with the new plant as well. But we put all those together, and we're coming up with about more or less having to double our revenues from where they're at today. That revenue would need to be in place when we start servicing our bond payments in fiscal year 2026, which would be following the year of construction. To get to that, we're proposing a series of increases, beginning with a mid-year increase that would take effect with, if the first reading passes tonight, the second and third at the following council meetings would go into effect in the November 22 bill that goes out, and then a series of increases effective July 1 of 2023, 2024, and 2025. As part of that analysis, we looked at the various types of fees that we have in terms of service fee, usage fee, and infrastructure fee, and how we balance those. And we need to dramatically increase our infrastructure and our sewer fee as we looked at kind of our system as a whole, as well as comparables to other communities. We found that our small users are extremely low, whereas our usage rate is already kind of competitive line. So that's where there's no way to double your revenues without there being pain all around. But with the requirements that the DNR has put on us to meet these standards, and we're going on now a year of about 4 or 5 years of engineering work to, okay, how do we come up with a plan and a plant that's going to meet these and what's the most economical option. You know, what we identified with the oxidation ditch system was the most affordable of the alternatives we looked at. And that's what's prompting, you know, the necessity for these increases. So the ordinance would, again, in that November bill, adjust the service fee and the usage fee. The infrastructure fee would stay the same. And then July 1 of every year from 23, 24 to 25, it sets automatic increases that would, by FY 2026, we need to make those payments on our debt for this project. We'll be in a position that we can fund operating costs and, you know, our debt service based on the best information we have to date. You know, certainly as we progress through the project, get more detailed cost estimates and projections, you know, we can adjust the ordinance. But I don't see this going in a way that it's going to be, oh, we don't need as much revenue as we thought. So this will, you know, by going out 2025, none of that could change between now and then, but it does give our users or, you know, our households and our businesses, you know, notice that, you know, this is going to be a requirement and helps them project and plan out on, you know, we're obviously having to adjust to the requirements we're under, and then, you know, they can have some time to adjust and plan for how they're going to handle the fees that have been passed on in order to build this plant and comply with fire permit.
And Jake, I know that construction's a few years off on this, and a large part of the construction is probably going to be earthwork and cement work, that sort of thing. But as you mentioned, the very specific pieces that are going to be needed, what concerns me is that all the cities our size are going to be needing those specific pieces at the same time. Are we going to have the final design in time that we can maybe get some of those things ordered? I mean, in the end, I'd rather be the city that anticipated and got ahead of the crowd instead of one of them who wished that they had.
You know, I'd say we'll have the final design done, but in terms of ordering those materials, that's something that would be the you know, awarded general contractor. There may be some items we can ask, you know, if it would make sense for us to buy in advance. If it is something just, it's got to be this, nothing else. You know, but that'd be something that once the project's awarded, you know, the general would, you know, as they're building their bids, then source those. But to that point, you know, my understanding is the DNR, kind of knowing the acute circumstances of supply chain with COVID, has been reasonable to work with in terms of if you get a piece that's a 14-month lead time, you know, what do you do? You know, so you know, that's going to be something we'll just have to kind of work through as we go, and if we run into those, try to figure out a way to commit in advance, or, you know, be upfront with the folks at the DNR, and they were trying our best, and usually if you can show them that, they'll be reasonable and work with you. That's when you say, no, we're not going to comply, that's when things get serious.
Yeah, yeah.
I make a motion, we waive the first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to waive the first reading. Any discussion? Hearing none, vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Can I just
Oh.
say something about this, please?
Sure.
Did I miss my chance?
No, come on up to the podium and,
Can you stay here, please?
oh, sure.
I think you can hear me. Or you will be able to by the time I'm done. I took the proposed waivers for what would be 2026 and applied it to the bill I just got. And my bill will more than double in 2026. And that's a $400 a year increase for me. And I, like a lot of other people in this town, live on a fixed income. Not only that, but you're gonna add 4% on top of that for who knows how long. Now, we've got inevitable tax increases, utility increases, and all other kinds of increases. I just think that there should be money out there from the government who likes to spend money on parks in California and green deals, that you should be able to get money to pay for this, rather than putting this all on our backs. That's all I have to say. I think it's an incredibly huge burden to put on the people in this town. You know, there's a lot of old people like me. Now, we're not gonna get Medicare increases or increases every year to help pay for this. And I don't use that much water. I feel for the people that use a lot more water than I do. But, I mean, their rates are gonna be, I used 227 cubic feet. That's not a lot of water. But my service charge and my infrastructure fee are gonna be the same as a person who uses 800 cubic feet. The only difference is gonna be the amount in the water that I use. So I don't see how that's fair to me at all, for not using water. Okay, how much is this, you got $317,000 yet from the rescue plan that isn't earmarked for anything. Why can't we go after money from the government for projects such as this, that they have promised all these states that they could have? Has anybody looked? Have you looked?
So
Yeah, go ahead, sure. Yeah,
so just real quick, the service fee is a set fee. The infrastructure fee is based on the water meter size, which correlates with your capacity to use water and what we need at the plant to treat it. So that is adjusted for size. On that, the simplest way to put it is this is an unfunded mandate placed on the city. We've been told you have to meet these requirements, figure it out.
Why don't you find funding for it?
So, fortunately, most other cities are or will eventually be going through a similar process as the DNR, addresses these regulations. We certainly have and will keep an eye out for money to fund this. There may be some funds through the State Revolving Loan Fund that they are going to be forgiving as grants. So there's that potential there, but that's an unknown. The ARPA funding that hasn't been earmarked, that's something that, the city could put towards this project. But when you're, looking at a $15 million project, you can only kind of shave so much off the edges. There's not a large, unless you're considered a disadvantaged community, which Algona would not qualify for, and that's based on a variety of factors, but mainly what your median household income is as a city, and where that relates to where your sewer bills are. Unless there's something out there, there's really not any federal grants out there. CDBG would be one that the city could apply for. We can get up to $600,000, but with that, you federalize the project. You have to pay Davis Bacon wages. You have to do the environmental review, and when you place that on a general contractor on a $15 million project, I used to do CDBG administration, and it's like you very quickly, it's like, well, you're probably going to be paying close to the same amount in extra to get that grant money.
it just complicates things.
Yeah. So, if we are on a number of different organizations and email lists and different programs, if there's something out there that pops up as a grant or a low interest loan that we think we could take advantage of, we certainly would explore that. The unfortunate thing is, I guess, the simplest way, it's an unfunded mandate, and that funding has to come from the users, and it's...
I find it hard to believe that you can't find money from the government somewhere. They've got money for everything.
As far as their infrastructure funding that they put out, I sat through many of those webinars, and it's always disadvantaged communities, disadvantaged communities, and unfortunately.
Well, at this
we
rate,
do
we're
not
gonna be disadvantaged.
Currently, we do not qualify to apply for any of those grants.
Karen, I share your frustrations with this project. It seems ridiculous that we're being forced to do this for the minimal gain that we'll have in phosphorus and nitrogen numbers. I know that we've all done a lot of discussion on this, trying to figure out any ways around this, and unfortunately, it's being forced on us. And as far as the disadvantaged community, I think we tried looking into that, and I think the sewer bill would have to be over $90 a month for an average citizen for us to qualify for their numbers. And it's very frustrating. I know I share your frustration, and we have been looking into all the options that we can, because this is a huge project and it's a huge burden on everyone. It's going to be the employers, it's going to be the citizens, it's everyone, and it's just really unfortunate that we have to do this for what I feel is the minimal benefit or minimal reduction in something that's going to be seen in the Gulf of Mexico that it's going to be almost immeasurable from what I can tell. So it's really not something that we have a lot of control over, that it's something that's being forced down on us and all these other communities around us too.
Well, I understand that. I understand that. But you have to understand that there are a lot of retired people that are not getting this kind of a raise every year to deal with this. So our income is basically just gonna keep dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. And add to that the cost of everything else that's going on right now. It's insane. It's insane to do this. I appreciate your time and listening to me rant,
Yeah.
but, I just hope I have enough of bearing with someday.
I'll say, we certainly don't and haven't enjoyed coming up with a plan to have fun for this, and I'm sure none of you enjoy having to consider vote on this.
Right, yeah, yeah.
a lot of
Every
money.
time I see a program out there that might work for us, I'm emailing it to Kevin Graves, hey, can we qualify for this, can we apply for this? And sometimes it's like, yeah, let's try, but the federal grants are so highly competitive that you're like 1,000,000 to 1 that you would get the grant. But we're looking into things and trying.
Sure.
But moving forward, we have to look at it as, we're gonna have to fund this project without any grants. Currently, if we get a grant, great, it's gonna come down off the top of the cost of the project, but we can't guarantee we're gonna get anything.
And yeah, in 2023, 2024, if our numbers come in and they're good, and yeah, we can certainly amend this ordinance again and say, hey, we're not gonna need this much, and we're gonna, flatten it out. But we'd rather be in a position where we're planning for what, based on the best knowledge we have today, planning for that, and then have good news, as opposed to hoping that something happens that we aren't even sure what that is yet.
So this is all coming down from the EPA, correct?
So, yeah,
DNR,
DNR.
EPA and the DNR.
yeah,
Yes.
the EPA delegates the Clean Water Authority to the most of the states that accepted it, but yeah, so the DNR, and then, I believe it was in 2010-ish around then, the state did their Iowa nutrient reduction strategy. And that basically identified how we're gonna go about reducing Iowa's share out of, what's, going into the Mississippi and down into the dead zone. The overwhelming majority of the nitrates are from non-point source, grass. I certainly have a different philosophy than the state does on how they've gone about regulating this, in that they have really looked at the cities and the other, entities with permits and say, well, we can easily regulate them, so let's just go crazy. And then, ag, here's some voluntary programs and some money as well to encourage you to do the programs. When, yeah, we're going to be, us and other towns are going to be spending millions of dollars to make a fractional impact when you look around and where are the nitrates coming from. I think they've been off on their focus, but that's the powers that be.
Well, those powers that be, I would like to say, we vote on them on both the state and federal level, But unfortunately, I think they find it much easier just to turn it over to agencies like the EPA and the DNR, the Iowa DNR, to just do this, and with very little oversight. So I'm not sure, unless you specifically talk to your legislators and encourage them to be more proactive in this. Yeah, I think it's something free running now with the EPA and the DNR.
There is a very powerful lobby down at the State House, which I'm not going to name what they are during an open meeting, that I think is, got a lot of pull. The city is getting regulated for a lot of this and not today.
So just real quick, this is from the Iowa Nutrient Reduction Strategy Report. Just while reading the record, so both non-point source agricultural land and urban runoff and point source such as wastewater treatment plant loads play critical roles in Iowa's water quality. The nutrient reduction strategy estimates that upgrading treatment plants across the state will result in a statewide 4% nitrogen and 16% phosphorus reduction, while non-point sources will need to result in statewide in 41% nitrogen and 29% phosphorus reduction. So they are, regulating those two entities, just have different kind of views on their balance. The questions being raised in other communities that I've worked with on, like, well, what if we don't do this? Do we have to? And it's like, well, you could say no, then you're going to get sued, and it's, these are requirements that have been in effect since the 1970s with the Clean Water Act. It's going to get upheld that, yeah, this is reasonable regulation and jurisdiction, and so then you're going to get put under the consent decree. You're going to be required to do it either way, and then you're going to have the DNR and the EPA over your shoulder and, for several years to come to make sure that you're complying with that.
Yeah.
There's not a, disincorporate.
Yeah.
And I want to say, through all of our conversations about this rate structure, we have definitely kept that fixed income individual or family in mind doing this, that what's going to be the least impact on them. I mean, there's going to be an impact on everybody, but we try to keep a smaller impact on that fixed income level than the corporations and stuff. So it's a hard line to draw in the sand.
Yeah. Well, and we know that, you guys, the city staff has certainly done everything you possibly can. We've worked with it for several months with you, and there's all kinds of scenarios you guys have shown us, and so we know that you're doing the best that you can, and with federal regulations, what do you do, so.
And not that this, it doesn't change anything, but when you look at our current small user rates, we've had very low rates for a very long time.
Yeah.
That was nice while it lasted.
Right.
Unfortunately, that is no longer going to be an option.
Yeah, and people get used to that, and that's understandable, and, but, yeah.
Well, it's just the start of what we know we're going to see in this process and what we're going to hear in this process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, we'll always be there to listen and try to, if we can adjust, we will, but I appreciate everybody's work, and what Tyler said it best, I think we're all feel that same way, so.
Yeah.
But we still got to move forward at this point, so I'd move to approve the first reading.
Second.
We have a motion from Rodney, second from Don to approve this first reading. Is there any further discussion?
I would just say that, I appreciate all your work as well, and I would just appreciate in the future that if anything does come up, that if there is any nitrogen or phosphorus credits or anything like that we can get out of this, that even though I know we put a lot of work and cost or money into this already, I still think it's worth looking at anything that may come up in the future as it's hitting these other cities, as the legislators may be getting pushback. If there's anything that comes up, I think we need to keep looking at this, and if there's a way out of this, I know that our current plant needs a retrofit, it would need an upgrade, but $2 to $3 million is a lot better than $18 million. So I think anything that we can do to continue looking at this is a good thing.
on the credit trading, there has been more talk about it now again. I think it's kind of been more on the commercial and ag side, but we have talked with WHKS. I'm like, well, is there any reason why a city couldn't buy credits and we can reduce what we need to plan for at the plant and reduce our costs and, offset it by restoring wetlands or something like that. So, yeah, we'll continue to look into those, and then certainly welcome any examples or ideas that the council has and the public on how do we best balance moving forward.
Honestly, Tyler, I was approached about wetlands credits. It's something that a couple of communities are doing around us. I got a hold of Kevin Grace with WHKS. He said if we want to use some of our sponsored project dollars that we will get from the sewer plant upgrade for credits, that would be good, but it's not going to save us any money on the sewer plant. Our sewer plant is to a point, whether we have to reduce the nitrates and phosphorus or not, is going to be about a $15 to $16 million retro on the plant because it's old. It's 40-some years old from the beginning, and it's just worn out and needs to be replaced.
Yeah, even without those credits, we'd still have the capacity at the plant to treat.
So anytime a webinar comes up about funding from the government, I'm listening in, and then I'm talking to Kevin to see if we can qualify or if it would apply to us.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 11, this is a resolution pertaining to the 2022-23 budget.
This is the same item on the budget amendment that we had the public hearing on earlier. This resolution approves budget amendment as noticed for $153,409 for additional expenses to public safety and community economic development funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Don, second from Rodney. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 12, this is a resolution approving the annual street finance report.
Every year, we submit a report to the state showing where our revenues came from and how we spent them on street projects. This is primarily prompted through the road use tax, which the city receives from the state to go towards street operations and maintenance. The page 2 of this report, I think, is kind of the most interesting, but it shows our expenses out of our road use tax. We spent $863,000. It doesn't go. Majority of that is spent on the wages, and then materials, equipment, operating supplies, as well as the dump truck that was purchased this last year within the street department to kind of fund our operations. And then we have a few items that come out of the general. And then the other big ones are debt service on capital projects, and then the closed out completed capital projects are reported as well. So it's just kind of a summary report to the state on where our money's going, what they send us.
Motion to approve the annual street financial report.
Second.
We have a motion from Rodney, second from Tyler. Any discussion? Vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item number 13, this is a resolution pertaining to the CDBG housing program.
About a year ago, we were awarded a CDBG owner-occupied exterior housing rehab grant, right around $249,000. We did tours of 3 of the homes this fall. NICOG, Ohio Council of Governments, is ready to award the bid on 1 of the homes. We cannot do repairs totaling over $24,999, except for the lead mitigation can be added on top of that. This home at 209 East Kennedy, we did receive 2 bids on. The SPI Services is a little bit at $27,000, and I thought it was recommending we approve this bid. The other 2 homes, I believe, will probably be approving at the next council meeting. They were single bids. We only got 1 bid from the contractor on each home. So we had to get approval from the state to award those bids since it was a single bid and a competitive bid. But this one, if we award this tonight, the contractor can get started on repairs on the home immediately.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Harley, second from Jody. Any discussion? Vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item number 14, this is a resolution concerning the sanitary sewer waiver policies.
So this had come up earlier this year, we discussed it earlier in the one of the months here about adopting a new sewer waiver policy for pools. This kind of prompted in 2020, COVID, when the pool was closed, we did a lot of sewer waivers for people that bought pools, just as kind of an offset. Well, we continue to get a lot of requests for those. So at the direction of the council, we put together a policy for users to submit, and then kind of the standards for how one would be approved for filling a residential swimming pool. So it would have to be submitted in advance. Residential pools only, can't be connected to the sanitary sewer, so the theory is they would just get the credit for the equivalent usage fee since it's not going into the sanitary sewer and it's not being treated. As part of the application, they would need to submit the dimensions and volume for the pool. That would be used to calculate the usage, subject to a verification or a spot inspection by city staff that, yep, they've got a pool and it is, it's the size that they said that it was. And you would calculate what that usage would be, and a credit could be issued. You could only apply for 1 credit every calendar year.
So you can only apply for 1 credit. Am I reading this right, that water leaks, watering a new lawn, and/or landscaping, and the filling of pools, are those 1 credit? Pick and choose which one?
So the form that was uploaded, that's a draft update of our current form. So right now, the policies that the city has in effect is a sewer waiver policy for establishing a new yard and for a water leak. So this would be the 3rd waiver policy. So this would be independent of those.
But as far as filling the pool, you can get 1 waiver per year. But if you're watering a yard, you can also apply for
Okay.
a new yard, I should say. You can also apply for that also.
Okay. Thank you.
Move to approve the resolution.
Second?
We have a motion from Don, second from Rodney. Any other discussion? Hearing none, vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item number 15 approves the pay application for the library renovation project.
This approves pay application number 13, and the amount is $76,890.28. This is releasing the retainage on the interior portion, which has been completed. So it's for work already earned that since we've been in there occupying it, and it's the architect has recommended we release that retainage. And then with the exterior improvements that are now underway, the labor and materials retainage for that will start to reaccumulate, and then once we've accepted the project, we'll release that as the final retainage.
So work is underway on that now and going to be done this year?
They started on August 22nd. The timeline that they shared shows it being finished in February with some of the final the kind of window installation. It's really, I think, just going to depend on how many people are going to be on the job site on a given day. But the goal is to get it wrapped up this calendar year, shortly after the calendar year. So far, we haven't heard of any supply chain issues. That was a cause of delay for a while, but as far as we know now, everything else is either here or on track to be here on time.
Okay, move to approve.
Second.
A motion from Harley, second from Brad. Any other discussion? Vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Agenda item number 16, this is appointments to the Cemetery Board of Trustees. The terms of John Hank and David Van Gorkum have expired. Do we,
Yeah, I spoke with John. John would like to stay on the cemetery board of trustees and would run for another term.
okay,
I guess I'd recommend that we approve John.
okay. Anyone visited with David?
I did talk to David, and he said he would continue his.
Okay,
The both of them.
okay. So would someone like to make a motion then for, both, we'll do them both together?
Sure. I'd make a motion, we approve John Hank and David Van Gorkum to the cemetery board of trustees.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Rodney, second from Jody. Any discussion? Hearing none, vote please, Deb.
Harley.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
Rodney.
Yes.
Tyler.
Yes.
Don.
Yes.
Jody.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you, John and David, both for your willingness to serve again. And thank you for checking with them and asking them, so. Agenda item number 17, this is the second notification of terms expiring on the Retail Revolving Loan Fund Committee. Betty Kunkel and Teresa Kellenberger, their terms expire September the 16th, and this is a mayoral appointment, and this is just the second notification there. And agenda item number 18 is a notice of resignation and future appointment to the Parks and Rec Commission. Zoe Dow has resigned from the commission. She'll be moving outside of the city limits. So therefore, she's ineligible to continue to serve. Zoe's term is a full 6-year term, and this is a council appointment. Her term does expire at the end of the year 2025. So we want to keep that in mind and be checking around, see if someone would like to fill Zoe's term then on the Parks and Rec Commission. So with that, that brings us to the end of our published agenda. It's 5:56, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you very much. The meeting's adjourned.